Sorry, Blizzard. This week's episode of Legendary is brought to you by Elder Scrolls Online. For 20% off, head on over to offergb.com/ESO. Bazinga. Game Breaker TV. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Legendary. It's episode 166. It's April 3rd, 2014. It's been a while. It's been a while! Hello, everybody. Coming up on tonight, we got Warlords of Draenor Alpha begins. They dropped, I don't know, like 17,000 words of patch notes or some shit like this, and all that and more. So we're going to talk, I guess, a lot of patch notes in Warlords of Draenor. Joining us, the always lovely Olivia D. Grace. How are you, Liv?
I'm good. Busy. It's been quite a day. It's been a busy day. So yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna drink so much beer. So much beer. I'm
drinking coffee because it's so damn busy. Yeah, trying to stay awake. And from CTR Convert to Raid, what's up, Mr. Pat Crane?
Hello. You know, after all these patch notes, my eyes are a little tired right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Just a little bit.
A little crossed. You know, 17,000 words.
33 pages, 33 effing pages. Seriously? Yeah. Come on, bro. We don't read. This is 2014. No, exactly. Can we get like a Cliff Notes video or something? Like a video?
Oh,
maybe,
man, yeah.
You know,
5:30 they drop. The show starts at 8, so we're just like
a couple hours before the show.
And then they release the talent calculators and like these perks, which weren't even listed in the patch notes. That's even more.
So I'd love to believe that they dropped all of the notes because it's Thursday and we got Legendary and I came back to the show.
Yeah, that seems legit. That seems legit.
But I kind of may think that it may be due to another MMORPG that released today officially.
No. They've never done anything like that in the past that would imply that might be what's going on. Where are you even getting this from, Gary? I don't even know what you're talking about.
I am completely making stuff up, pulling it out of my ass. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this is just like classic Blizzard.
Right.
So classic Blizzard. Just wait. Hold on to those patch notes. Oh, we only have 31 pages? Ah, you got some more time. Make it 33 pages. Don't worry about
it. Yep, let's just keep rolling. You can fix those typos. We've got a couple days.
Yeah, let them get their mega server rolling. Just drop 33 pages. It'll keep them busy. The kids busy for an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so first up this morning, earlier today, it was announced that the Warlords of Draenor Alpha is underway. It's not on live servers yet, obviously, but we got a blog post talking about what's coming. So what do we know about that? What do we know? Does anybody know anything about people getting into it, access, anything like that? Is anything known at all?
Not a great deal, to be honest. Like we've obviously they're using the same alpha phrasing as they use for the Heroes of the Storm setup. So like I kind of feel like it's going to be similar to that. Like there's obviously this is an alpha, this isn't the beta. So I don't think we should be expecting like thousands and thousands and thousands of people to be getting into it at this stage. But you know, it could be something where they'll actually turn it into a beta at a later point, and that'll work out then. But I feel like right now it's going to be if people outside of Blizzard are even getting into it, like I feel like it could be the point where they're sort of saying, all right, now this is where we're putting it onto the servers so that Blizzard employees can play it in their houses, and they're doing this to combat data mining. So I don't even know whether like people outside of Blizzard will be in at this stage. Like it's not typically the case. Like, there might be an F&F alpha maybe, so friends and family, but I'm really not expecting people to be in.
Jumping back to the patch notes for a quick second, I have to interject and just say that someone in the chat room says, haha, I assume no amount of truth could convince anyone it was a complete coincidence.
That's correct. Yes, that's correct.
No audio, but it's, you know what it sounds like. There are no coincidences,
no amount of truth
There are no coincidences. Don't we all know that? Not gonna
Right.
believe your crazy non-conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
All right.
Coincidence.
Coincidence. Oh, just happened.
Oh, it's happy.
Alpha
Happy
patch
chance.
notes game just happened. Just kind of fell on a Thursday. Who knows? We always release patch notes in an alpha on Thursday. Everybody knows that.
God, we didn't even service reset or anything like that. God, you guys. Yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah, going back to what you were talking about, I don't know, maybe Pat's in it already and it's just me who hasn't got in.
No, I'm not. I'm not in it. I'm not even in the Heroes of the Storm one, unlike you. So so there. Maybe Bashiak can hook me up with that.
Yeah, Bashiak.
Come on, Bashiak. No, but I think you're right. It does sound like it is an internal alpha right now, and maybe there will be a couple of people invited to it upcoming, but for right now, I think it's mostly internal at least. So
yeah.
The alpha name's kind of interesting. So what do you think? I mean, how do you think this is going to relate into beta? You know, like in what we saw in the previous beta periods with mists and all that. I mean, they mentioned garrisons not being available in the alpha, correct?
Yeah, I mean, Ian Hazzikostas tweeted today, like, don't put too much weight on the alpha name. There is a lot in there for testing. But I kind of feel like you're right. I feel like there's definitely going to be, like, I feel like the reason why they're saying alpha is so that people don't go into it and expect it to be a finished game. Like, I think, to me, it seems, and like, Gary, I know you've commented on this before, like, beta now is actually just a term for free trial. And people expect much more of a finished game when you start calling it a beta. So by calling it an alpha, they're kind of saying, hey, look, you guys, there's a bunch of stuff not in here yet. It's not done. And you just got to get over that because we're calling it an alpha. And like the way that people have received it.
Who are they really talking to? Who's even in this alpha? Like no one is. Like they that post talked to like 3 people.
Yeah,
coincidence. Exactly. Okay.
But I do think that alpha is kind of weird though, right? I mean, so alpha means that we're not gonna see. Alpha to me is just way too early in the process, considering when we were at BlizzCon, they said that they were at further along than expected, right? And they've kind of said that throughout the last couple of months, and now we're starting to see an alpha, and I'm like, well, if you're further along than expected, shouldn't it be a beta already?
Yeah, you're not as far along as we expected. Right. I don't know where you guys expected you were going to be, but you're actually further along.
Well, we were expecting to release, let's see, 2015 sometime. So yeah, we're further ahead than expected.
Somewhere between now and the heat death of the universe. Yeah, exactly.
Chat room's giving me the thumbs up on you can go a little louder if possible.
All right,
so
I will do that.
Juice.
I will
do it.
Let's do it. All right, well, let's get into the craziness of the show because there's tons of patch notes. I mean, I was watching you type up show notes today. So literally 17,000 words of patch notes, 33 pages. It's insane. So there's a ton of patch notes to kind of go through. We're just going to start dissecting them and ripping them apart. Actually, wait, what do you think that what do you think this alpha says about a release date really quick? Like, what do you think? Does this change anybody's mind on a release date?
It will be on or before
WildStar's release.
December
what is that? I don't know what that is.
On or before December 20th. Yeah,
that's right.
20th. Yeah, I don't know. Like, to me, this is kind of saying, you know, are we? I'm kind of wondering if we're going to be still expecting a full beta to happen after this alpha, because like that's how this goes, right? You get the FNF alpha, and then you get the beta, and that was the 6 months that took place in Mr. Pandaria. So what are we now? April, let's say May, then May, June, July, August, September, October. Yeah, so I'm feeling October based on this. So if we have like a short alpha, and then we go into a full length beta, then maybe October. Like that's kind of where I'm taking my flag out of May, because frankly that seems optimistic at this point. And I'm going to pop it in October.
I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm hoping for man, I tell you, after BlizzCon I was like, here's what's gonna happen. So they're gonna come out and they're gonna have beta like right after BlizzCon, and they're gonna do this, and then BlizzCon happened and there was no beta, and I'm like, okay, all right, when's the next possible time here? They're still saying everything. They've just frustrated me every step along the way, so I am no longer making guesses
Oh, you're not going to play our game anymore.
You're not going to play our game? Well, let's see.
I am refusing the game.
Let's see. I'm gonna make a bet. I'm gonna base my. There are no. Yeah, it's total coincidence.
No coincidences. No coincidences.
Very
this will totally be. Yeah. Was it June 6th? What's the date?
June
3rd.
June 3rd. Yeah.
Is it June 3rd? Okay, then I'm gonna go with. Let's see. Then I'm gonna go with a beta on June 3rd.
I can't imagine what makes you think that. I don't know where you're getting that from.
No idea.
I have no idea. No idea. All right, you guys want to talk about some batch
June
notes?
4th says chat.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's go. Let's start going through them. There's a ton of them.
Yeah, we got to do this.
We can't break all of these down.
No.
You go read them in their entirety if you want to. There's a lot to go through. We're just going to try and go through some of the big stuff, the real specific, some class changes, stuff like that. We're going to keep it kind of general. So first up, tell me about these new things called Draenor perks. What do we know about them? It seems like you're going to be something that you're going to pick up from every level from 90 to 100. What else do we know? Is this something like in lieu of like new abilities or while you leveling? Like what are they?
It basically enhances all of your different abilities. So as you level up, each level that you get, you're going to get an enhanced ability. Say you're going to be able to I can't even remember all the different spells and stuff like that, but it will enhance your spells that you have already to, like, I think hunters can shoot from 45 yards or something like that instead of just the regular distance, and I can't remember what that is right now. Awesome. But no, it'll improve all of your shots, it'll get everything going, and it's very random, and it's all tabulated over a Wowhead right now, right?
Yeah, exactly. So if you're interested in looking at them for your specific class, you can head over to Wowhead and just go into their Warlords of Draenor talent calculator, where they've actually got them all laid out in kind of, because obviously they're also going to change according to your class and spec. So for example, like I'm looking at the Resto Shaman ones right now. You've got your Improve Reincarnation, which is for every spec, but then you've got things like Riptide, Chain Heal, Healing Wave, Healing Surge, Tide, like all these restoration specific things. And Pat's right, they are random, so you're not going to learn Improve Reincarnation and then Lightning Bolt and then Riptide and then Chain Heal and so on. They're going to, like, you're just going to get them at random, which, like, I'm kind of cool with that. And so yeah, so if you're looking at that, click through the link to the actual calculator itself,
Right.
and then you should be able to choose a class, and then scroll down to the bottom there. There's that list. So go up a bit. There we go, next to the three icons.
Yeah.
So there's that list to the right-hand side, which lists them all out. So you can see here that it's like enhance this, improve that, and these are random, so that you're not learning them in a specific order. And I mean, I think it's cool. Like, I think it's a nice thing it's a nice way to balance out the difficulty of, like, oh, I want to have something every level, versus we can't give you new stuff all the time. Did you not notice there was a squish? So I think it's kind of a cool thing to do.
Right.
I don't know what, like, Pat, I'm interested in your take on this as well. Like, do you think that this is a good replacement for getting, like, the equivalent of a level 87 ability?
It's nice. I mean, you know, it's not a world changer or anything like that, but it is nice to feel like you're getting something, especially in the later levels, which, you know, take a while to get through. So, you know, I kind of like it. And I just kind of want them to do more of that, like as you go through even Mists of Pandaria content, kind of look at that stuff as well and see if they can maybe implement some of this stuff all the way, you know, from 0 to 90. I know that, or 0 to 100. I know that you can buy a 90 now, but you know, not a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of that anyway. So
no, not at the price range, let's say that. But yeah, and I think that's a good look. Like, I'd love to see this, particularly as you know, we've seen that they're removing a lot of abilities as you're going up through the leveling process. So I'm wondering whether that's going to result in, like, actually fewer abilities coming in as you. Wow, I don't know if I looked that terrible on the actual show, but if so, then apologies, guys. Is my internet just, like, derping out really hard at the moment?
We're having some internet difficulties right now. But yeah,
I'm
just
sorry.
Look at calculators for a while.
Yeah, I just went, like, completely pixelated and hopeless for a bit there. But yeah, no, I think that it would be really nice to have these coming in and maybe just enhancing your spells. Kind of like you used to have spell ranks. Like, so you'd start off with your rank 1 healing wave, then you get your rank 2, rank 3, and just kind of do that, but without the ranking, which made the spells confusing, just to add these perks in as you go along. I think that would be kind of cool.
Yep.
What do you think? A lot of the mana regeneration cooldowns have been removed, or like just really nerfed. I don't know. I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. Do you guys think that this is like a new approach to the healer regen and efficiency?
Yeah, but I'm gonna miss Innervate. I will miss that spell. That's for sure.
I hear that same statement across a lot of things going on right now. Everybody's going, "Oh my god, I'm gonna miss this. Oh my god, I'm gonna miss that. Oh my god." I heard Tally be like, "Wings. Oh my god, really?"
I'm not going to really miss it. I'm going to miss the idea of it because I've been playing a druid for 3 years or whatever, a resto druid especially. And you get used to hitting that button every so often, you know, during a fight. And so it's going to be little things like that we need to adjust to and figure out. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens without all of these different buttons as they kind of pare everything down. And this is one more thing. They have changed the mana regen a lot. So I'm hoping that everybody's kind of evened out on this new approach to mana regen. And I guess we'll see as soon as we get us into the alpha or the beta or whatever. So
yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know, there's a ton of changes. It's not just Innovate that's going. Like, again, these changes, like Pat and I are like broken records with the whole these changes aren't happening in a vacuum thing. So it's not just Innovate that's going. Hymn of Hope is going as well. Mana Tide Totem is being drastically altered. So it's definitely other healers are losing stuff. Like there's some changes to Divine Plea as well. So it's definitely not just druids that are being hit with Innovate. So, you know, I think
that's all I care about.
Yeah. I think it's going to be one of those things. I think that people have been freaking out with the healer blog about sort of worrying about things going back to like Cataclysm and that sort of stuff. But I kind of feel like they're looking at these from a perspective of, okay, we know that these changes are happening. So we are going to design everything around this. And I think that, you know, as long as it's sort of, as long as it's kind of across the board, I don't feel like people should worry about it. I think part of the problem, and it's something that Celestalon's been talking about on Twitter a lot, is that people are looking just at their own class and looking at those changes in isolation and, you know, just, you know, ignoring what's happening to everyone else. So don't do that, is I guess the message here. There's mana changes happening across
Celestalon! Yeah! Speaking of which, Celestalon is going to be on Convert to Raid this Sunday. Just letting everybody know. Celestalon and Zarheim.
Wow.
We'll figure out how to pronounce his name.
It's Zarheim. Don't let him tell you different. It's Zarheim.
We're gonna do a little wake and bake on the CTR.
So we'll put all this stuff under a microscope a little bit more during that show. They're going to be there for the entire show too, so it's going to be really great. We're going to have like a big sit down with them. It's going to be really a lot of fun.
So Zarheim's not doing his usual trick where he comes onto the show and then just disappears and is just like mysterious man in the background. He's actually going to be talking to you guys.
He's the mysterious floating skull in the background. Yeah, exactly. So
that's cool.
He might pop in from time to time and chat with us, hopefully. So
sweet. Sounds awesome.
That is on Sunday mornings from 9 a.m. on Pacific.
That's an early start.
It is an early start.
For Pacific. For me, it's 11, so I don't.
He's
care.
like, I'm awake. I had my toast. So yeah, 9 a.m. Pacific right here on the Game Breaker TV Twitch channel. So check it out live.
Check it out.
Videos and all that good stuff. So let's talk about the tanking changes. Tanking, big changes with Resolve, right? What's going on here?
Yeah, huge changes. So they are dropping. Vengeance is basically being removed, and is because they're kind of saying that threat is no longer particularly interesting because it's pretty straightforward to hold. And that's resulting in changes like the removal of Hand of Salvation for Paladins, which was like a self-buff, a self-debuff, I suppose, that reduced your threat generation. So Vengeance is being taken away from the threat side of things, and it's being worked into this mechanic called Resolve, which is basically buffing your healing and absorption from active mitigation instead of your damage through Vengeance. And obviously, like a lot of classes had abilities which did like Paladin healing scales off of Vengeance as well. But this is like a complete switch around of the whole thing where you're not doing damage based on Vengeance, you're doing your healing. And as a result of that, then tank damage has been buffed to compensate for the loss of vengeance, because like particularly like serious tanks, I'm now sort of scanning chat looking for Trekkie, and serious tanks like Trekkie were able to really play cleverly with these sort of systems and do things like, you know, sit down when a boss is going to punch you really hard and you know you're not going to die, so that you take a ton of damage, you have no chance to block, no chance to parry, etc., and then your vengeance is just huge, and that allows you to do insane damage. And obviously then we had the nerf to the vengeance cap, and it's just a mechanic which it seems like they want to be done with altogether. And to me, as someone who tanks and actually quit tanking during Dragon Soul, the resolve change is super exciting, because I love the active mitigation model. I really appreciate it. And I think that as a tank, you're not there to do damage, you're there to survive stuff.
Well, it's called support, right? I mean, you called your tanks and your healers the support classes.
Yeah.
And so this is what they're meant to do. They're there to support DPS so that they can stay alive long enough to kill the boss.
Exactly.
That is why you're there. So if you play a support class, you should be supporting them, not topping the meters.
All right, so the tanks aren't going to be topping the healing charts then?
Yeah.
Well, they might be topping the healing charts.
Yeah, if you put absorbs up, it's going to be topping the healing charts.
or maybe that just means that healers can leave them alone for a little bit and not have to worry about them so much. So that's kind of a cool thing too.
Yeah. I like it. I think I really like the change. I think it's way more interesting as a tank to not be looking at your damage numbers, to be looking at your sort of survival, because that's what you're there for. You're there to absorb stuff. You're there to stay alive. You're there to be the sort of meat shield. And changing the resolve mechanic, the active mitigation, is a really, really cool way to look at that. And yeah, I'm very excited about this change. It might actually bring me back to tanking.
Yeah,
for reals.
For reals.
All right, there's also some quality of life things, like facing requirements. This is weird. Backstab can now be cast from the side, so I guess maybe they should call it side stab. Side stab. What's up with that?
It's just like
poke.
That's right.
Just like that.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a bit of a funny one.
Why? Dumbing down? What? Why? Why don't you have to get behind them? Backstab.
Well, there are certain encounters where people couldn't get behind the boss, and so that really limits what you can actually do to it during that encounter. So instead of making it really difficult, maybe what they'll do is instead say, okay, well, you can't get behind this boss, so you can just hit him from the side or whatever, but maybe this boss that you can get behind, even though you really don't have to, maybe you should, because there's going to be like this, you know, AoE damage coming just, you know, conally from the front or something like that. It gives them an opportunity to kind of build encounters a little bit more creatively, I think. And not having that facing requirement it just doesn't make any sense anyway. So.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I don't know. It's like, on the one hand, like I tend to look at things from PvP perspective, whereas Pat tends to look at things from PvE perspective. It's why we work so well together.
Right.
But like, to me, it is a little bit of a dumbing down thing. Like one of the big sort of, to me at least, one of the big things about being a rogue is that you do so much more damage from behind. And like, I would be 100% cool with this if they were like, okay, if you get them from actually behind, you'll do a little bit more damage than if you get them from the side.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like, I would be fine with that, but I feel like, as long as you're not actually in front of them, then just stab away, my friends. I don't know. I feel like that's a little bit that way. And there are a few other sort of positional requirement changes. She says, looking for that section of the patch notes.
It would be nice, actually, if they had it where maybe your chance to crit would be a little bit higher if you were.
Yeah, something like that would be cool. Yeah, so ambush.
Damage.
Yeah, like ambush and shred no longer require you to be behind the target, and it's all changes the stuff that needs you to be behind the target. So I don't doubt that Pat is entirely correct, and it relates to raid bosses. But yeah, slightly to me, from a PvP perspective, I would prefer if there was at least a bonus to actually being behind for those.
That would be good. I'd like that too.
What's going on with professions? And what's going on there? A little less min-maxy on the professions.
Yeah, they're really kind of taking out all the buffs for raiders, especially. And so if you're looking to really, use your professions to their fullest extent, go make some gear. Go collect some ore. And let's hope that does the trick, because
so they're going to be a lot less Are they going to be a lot less useful for raider?
No, I don't know about usefulness. As far as usefulness goes, I mean, they could make professions useful again by having them create things that actually work during that raid tier or during that, PvP season or whatever.
Totally.
That would be a very useful way to have a profession.
Yeah.
But the bonuses for raiding, they're just like, you know what? Let's have people choose professions because they want the actual profession. So,
yeah, I really like this change. I'm really excited about so what they're talking about is not they're not stopping blacksmiths crafting armor. They're removing things like the socket bonuses you got from brain fell out blacksmithing, the serpent's eyes you get from dual crafting, the synapse springs, because who uses anything else from engineering? You like your ring enchants that you get for having enchanting, that sort of stuff. That's what's going.
Right.
I'm assuming like they don't spell it out like that in the patch notes, but I'm guessing that that's what's going. And personally, like, I like it because it means that, if I were to become a hardcore raider, and indeed as someone who's been a hardcore PvPer in the past, you're not like doing the wrong thing if you pick if you have herbalism. Like, obviously that's a bad example because there's a haste and regen on that, but mining, you're not doing it wrong if you pick a certain profession. And it just means that, like, I really like herbalism. I like something about flying around the world and picking up pretty flowers. I enjoy it. And I don't want to feel like I'm doing the wrong thing if I've picked that profession on a character and I'm trying to raid or PvP on it. And the same applies, like, if you're trying to make money, I feel like professions should be a way to make money. And I think that that's kind of the direction they're shifting in, where, you're actually going to say, right, actually, I don't care about the benefits anymore from my raiding. I'm going to pick tailoring because I want to make clothes. Like that, and that to me is pretty cool. That to me is more like what professions should be about within the sort of thematic nature of the game, rather than about like, oh well, I'm a raider, so therefore I need engineering.
And it's the same way, and it's the same way with racials as well. So they're really toning down the racials, and we've kind of talked about that before as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they're taking out all of the rating perks for these different racials, and they're putting in, kind of more generic ones so that you can really play pretty much any class with any race as long as it's available, and have it make somewhat, some kind of sense somehow. So
I feel like they hopefully will be. Sorry, Pat.
No, I was just gonna say this is just one more way to do that same kind of thing for Warlords.
Yeah, I really hope there'll be more. I don't feel like they've been super successful with that with the racials so far. I still feel like there's going to be certain classes that are going to like certain racials because they've got a bonus to another stat, or because I still feel like the orc racials will be pretty strong, or like beast slaying is still going to be pretty strong. But hopefully they've actually just gone, right, we're just taking away all of the benefits of professions, which seems like an easier thing to do than to do that with racials, in all fairness to them, because there was a lot of that stuff in there.
Right.
And all the people who faction changed and race changed to become orcs and trolls will be really mad if they then lose all that benefits.
They're all going to switch to Alliance.
Let's move on and talk about the area where everybody's going to freak out. This is where everybody freaks out. Class changes, the big class changes. So, is the internet just completely freaking out at the moment?
There seems to be a lot of, why are you removing my blank? Why are you ruining my blank?
It's a lot of blanks.
Leave my blank alone, Blizzard. Why it's so uncool? Why are you taking away my army of, why are you nerfing my army of the dead? Why are you taking away my everything?
Right. And they are taking away a lot of stuff. So
they are. Yeah, like I did a hilarious, well, not like deliberately hilarious exercise. I pulled the patch notes into Microsoft Word to make them easier to like look at. And I did a control find for removed. There was 176 occurrences of the word removed in the patch notes.
Nice. Yeah, we can make an infographic just on the patch notes.
Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily tally with the amount of abilities they've removed. I just thought it was an interesting observation. But, yeah, there's a ton coming out, and people are freaking. Where do you want to
start? Where do you want to start? Shaman? Hunter?
Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, like, I don't necessarily think that us digging into the very, very specific class changes is I mean, I do want to like go to bed at some point today.
Right. That's important.
Like, I know we've had a little bit of a dearth of news recently, but the show is meant to finish at some point on a Thursday. It's meant to finish,
right?
So I don't think that going into the super specific changes, like looking at it in a more sort of philosophical way, is a nice idea. I mean, talking about Shaman, like I know
right.
Sorry,
like they're restricting like certain abilities to just certain specs, right?
Yeah, exactly that. Like they're doing a lot of. They seem to be doing a lot of that, which I think is a really cool way to do it. I think it's kind of better than cutting them for addressing button bloat, because like Shaman, obviously everyone knows I played that class, but like for example, they are taking Water Shield away from every spec that isn't Resto. Like, and that makes sense. Resto is the healer. The healer needs the mana regen shield. And they are taking Lightning Shield away from Resto and just giving that to the specs that need it. Like, this is a very neat way to address button bloat, because it doesn't remove abilities from the game altogether. It just says, okay, look, Resto, why do you even have Lightning Shield and Storm Strike? What have you even got that for? Like, what is that actually for? So we're going to give this to just the specs that need it, okay? And you don't. So, but then like a lot of I have a Resto Shaman who has those on my bar. And like very occasionally I'll use them. I won't miss them, but they're just taking up a space on my bar because they're an ability that does something that maybe once every 40,000 button presses I'll need it. And like I think, and I feel like it's kind of similar for hunters as well, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, they talked about the identity of hunters as being, we have all of these different spells that we can throw out, all these different shots, and they're active on every single spec. Well, why are they doing that? So why are we doing that at all? So let's kind of make it make sense. And they said that the number of active abilities should be lessened by quite a bit, and it'll just depend on the spec now, depending on what shots you can fire and what traps you can lay out and all that kind of different stuff. And they're really trying to work at getting marksmanship and survival to have their own identity. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops as they go through the process. But I kind of like that, especially for a DPS, a pure DPS class like that. They're really trying to figure out the identity of each and every spec, and also and I know like for mages they were talking about bringing some more utility to the raid, and so they're really trying to work out exactly what all these different classes are bringing and try to figure out those different specs as well. So it's cool.
Sure.
It's cool.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that like particularly for mages, like the pure, like you mentioned the pure DPS specs, and they are the ones that have definitely been suffering from an identity crisis.
Yeah.
And I think that like mages are one of the ones that were always good in the past, but they've made them even better. Like if you look at the way that they've just sort of been taking the abilities and moving them around, I think they've done a really good job with that. And I also feel like that's something that needed to happen. Like if you're playing as one mage, like a fire mage, like I never used to have Ice Lance. Like,
right.
Where did this come from? And like it's cool that you have access to all these abilities, but if you're a new player, you're just like, wait, should I even have these on my bars? Like, what do I need to bind every single ability in my spellbook? What do I even do here? And it's confusing. Like I get that, and I think that that's one of the things that they're doing a really good job with. The one class that I feel they haven't done that super well with, and maybe you'll disagree, Pat, is rogues. I don't like, particularly with rogues, all the talents are the same. Yeah. Like they've got a carbon, like every other spec has a differing talent. So every other spec has something that's specifically for one of, every other class has something that's specifically for one spec. So say hunters, you've got versatility, which is BM only, whereas for marks and survival, you've got, I'm trying to do this from memory, so I was typing them up for Wowhead earlier, Lone Wolf, yes, Lone Wolf, which is like the one where you dismiss your pet and do more damage.
Right.
So that's like, I feel like that's nice because that's an option which is different from spec to spec. Whereas rogues, although there's some changes going in there, I don't feel like they've done that for.
No, actually, they are going to be loosening the restriction on weapons for assassination rogues, right? So they're actually kind of, it seems like that's kind of a weird move. They're not like, they're not making them their own spec anymore. They're like going, oh no, you know what? You're kind of like the others now. Yeah,
I feel like if anything, they're going the other way with rogues. Like, right. And I feel like that's based on what we've just been talking about, I feel like that's kind of a weird choice. And maybe there are other changes. Like, they do say very specifically that there's other stuff in the works for these guys.
Sure.
And like these are not the final patch notes. This isn't the end of the line for patch notes. This isn't like the version that we're going to see on live servers.
Oh no!
Well,
there's more coming.
And let's hope not too, because paladins have like a paragraph, whereas everybody else has like a book. I mean, it's like seriously, it's like a novel for everybody else. Paladins have like this much text.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of interesting that the way that they're doing it for us. And like looking through the rogue changes there, I'm not seeing a ton of the stuff that we're seeing for other classes where they're sort of saying, right, we're taking this away from these guys and we're giving these to these guys. And Pat's exactly the same. Like what Pat was saying is exactly right. Like they're actually loosening the weapon specificity across rogue specs. So I hope for rogue's sake that there's more coming. Like, there's definitely changes.
Talk to me a little bit about the shaman.
And
talk to me about the removal of the healing related cooldowns, like devotion aura or protection paladins, healing tide.
That's definitely it's definitely something that's interesting. Like healing tide totem coming away from specs that aren't resto is a really, really good example of something that they're doing, which I find it's interesting, and I think it's going to cause a very mixed reaction. Like they're taking devotion aura away from protection paladins, and like I'm wondering if that's going to cause like. They're doing this a lot. They're taking sort of healing and raid utility abilities away from classes that don't heal, and I'm interested into what that's going to lead into. Are people going to feel that those hybrid classes, which are very focused on utility, are now yet less useful? I mean, particularly like Elemental Shaman, for example. One of the good things about bringing in Elemental Shaman is that they have a lot of off healing.
Right.
And like that kind of plays into their strength. So I mean, and maybe it's a problem now with how much damage Elemental Shaman are able to do, because they became this class that does an insane amount of damage and also brings all this utility.
Sure. Well,
maybe it's trying to balance that out.
One of the things is that you can't put that in a bubble. You can't just say that is happening by itself, because remember we talked about healing a while back and how they're changing damage and how they're changing health pools and how they're changing the way that healing works, so that we're going to be doing a lot more triage. We also have tanks now that they've changed their entire way of doing things. So now they're going to be pulling absorbs and heals instead of damage for taking damage. And so with all of these different changes, I think that we may be looking at a new way to play, which is kind of cool, right? So
yeah, for sure.
This could be a new era where you don't have to be a shadow priest and get symbiosis from the druid. Well, symbiosis won't be there, but you won't be able to get symbiosis from the druid, so that you can have a tranquility, you won't have this big healing cooldown. So
yeah, that's a good way to look at it, actually. So the DPS is focusing on DPS, and the tanks are focused on tanking, and the healers are doing the healing. Like maybe a little bit less of that cross roll stuff over different classes. And yeah, I mean, like if you're playing a shadow priest, that's a really good point. If you're playing a shadow priest, you're not playing a shadow priest because you really love healing.
Right.
Like if you're playing a shadow priest in PvP, it's probably like a shadow priest in PvP is one of the reasons you used to you play them when they're actually in a good place in PvP. You play them because they have such a lot of utility and off healing, and from a PvP perspective, like that's another great thing about being a shaman. But yeah, from a raiding perspective, people want to do what they want to do, and if you're playing the one non-healing spec that a priest has, maybe healing isn't that thing.
Right.
What do you think about it? Looks like a lot of the level 87 abilities are going away. A ton of them.
Yeah.
Like Shadow Blades, Blinding Light, Symbiosis, Void Shift, a bunch of other ones being changed. I don't know what happened here. Why do you think so many 87s are going away? Do you think they just like dialed it up too far, went a little bit too far with mists, or?
Yeah, I think one of the things that it was just pure numbers, right? So I mean, they just felt like they had to keep adding and adding and yes, more adding. And now they're at the point where it's way too much. And now we have, and I think that's part of the reason that they're switching it, so that support is doing support, DPS is doing DPS, and now we can actually kind of make sense of things again. Let's also take a look at talents and make those things go away that don't make sense anymore, so that people can actually concentrate on what they need to do instead of all this little gobbledygook that kind of gets in the way of having fun, right? So I think it's not a bad change overall, I don't think.
No, and I think like a few of the ones there are several that are staying. So like I see people asking in chat room about Ascendance for Shaman. No one said anything about Ascendance going yet. No. Doesn't mean it's not. Like, doesn't mean it won't go at some point, but so far it's not. But yeah, a lot of these ones, like, they were just problematic a lot of the time as well. Like, Blinding Light was problematic as an instant cast AoE CC. That was one of the big things that they talked about in the CC disarmament blog that they wanted to get rid of. So Blinding Light was problematic for that. Symbiosis was just plain problematic. Like, if you want to talk about reducing button bloat for everyone, there's an easy button to take away. And, like, you know, maybe they could have simplified it or done something along those lines, but I just feel, I don't know, I don't play a druid, but I feel like Symbiosis was kind of a pain. Like, when I remember writing up the chart that I put on WoW Insider when we first found out about Symbiosis and just being like, this ability is a nightmare.
Right.
And it's just like, so you had to sort of, like, particularly going into an arena, it's like you see a druid on the team, you're like, okay, there's a druid on the team, there's mage on the team, so they're going to probably be Symbiosis with the mage for the extra ice block. If there's a paladin on the team, they're probably going to be Symbiosis with the paladin for the bubble. If there's, you know, in a raiding, they're going to put Symbiosis, like, maybe they'll put Symbiosis on a shaman to get, like, and you had to have this, like, encyclopedic knowledge of, and I'm stopping there, pretending that I'm just tailing off, but actually that's all the ones I know. You know? So it's just like, it was too complicated. Like, it was cool for druids, don't get me wrong, but I feel like, it's a really good way to cut one button from every class. Just be removing one overcomplicated ability.
It wasn't overcomplicated. Come on.
Okay, Pat, tell me every class is Symbiosis spec by spec. Go.
Here's what all I need to know. All I need to know for Resto Druid is, okay, if I Symbiosisize a priest, I get life grip, and if I Symbiosisize a chamois, I can actually do tranquility on the run. Awesome. Beautiful. That's all I needed to know. Ever.
Yeah,
Ever.
For sure.
Pat broke it down. He's making it seem really easy here.
Yeah, just those two abilities. That's all you need to know.
I don't know what the hell the other guy gets. I don't care.
Well, Pat, break this one down for me, because you play a hunter. So a lot of the pet CC, a lot of hunter pet CC getting removed. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think it's okay, because a lot of CC in general is going to be gone. There's been a big complaint in Mists of Pandaria that there's been way too much CC anyway. If you go into any arena right now, you will be stunned for probably about 90% of the time, and that's always nice.
Was it overly complicated in your opinion before?
It was a challenge. Everything for a hunter was a challenge. However, it's like there's so many buttons for a hunter, and if you really want to maximize your performance, you have to know your layout really, really well, and you have to be adept at moving. You have to be very nimble on the keyboard to try to get everything going in the right order. So, yes, everything is complicated for a hunter right now. And I'm not saying that hunters are the only one. I'm just saying that they're one of the ones. That it's very complicated.
And I think, like, one of the big things that they're talking about with pet CC, like, it doesn't just apply to hunters either, and it applies a lot. It applies to warlocks. Like, for example, excuse me, the what was it called, and what is it still called? Seduce from a succubus pet, which is mesmerize when you turn your succubus into the big succubus. That is one of the most annoying CCs. Oh my god. Auto-casted pet CC can die in a fire. And it has! So yay! Like, I'm so happy to see that go. And I feel like a lot of the pet CC was just, it added too much. Like, it was an easy place for them to cut. And they're not taking pet CC away altogether by any stretch of the imagination. And another thing which I think it's important to mention with CC is that they are reducing the number of diminishing returns categories, which is going to make it a whole lot easier for people to understand. And that's great. But I think a lot of, like, Shivara, thank you, Kale Ray in chat. I think that's the big succubus, by the way. I think a lot of the sort of passive CC needs to have been nerfed, and, like, a lot of the intelligence is not there with that sort of CC, and I think that's awesome. Like, I know a lot of, like, a skilled hunter in PvP will always control their pets using these abilities, but a less skilled hunter will just put their spider up to randomly root people now and then. And, like, I feel like that's too powerful for too little player investment. So I'm happy to see them go, and I think that there's one of the things I'm most excited about from a PvP perspective is the CC nerf, like the CC reduction. And they're definitely going to be removing CC breakers as well, as they mentioned in the patch notes. But oh, wow, I just punched my desk. Sorry. But yeah, from a PvP perspective, I can't tell you how excited I am about the removal of a ton of CC. Like, it's
so
just,
excited you're punching desks. Punch the desk.
so excited I'm punching desks with excitement. Yeah, exactly.
It seems like some classes have a ton of changes, much more than others. We only got 33 pages of patch notes, so I assume I assume there's going to be a lot more. I don't know. Do you guys anticipate a lot more changes coming to more classes, or do you think that the other ones with less changes are a little bit closer to where they actually want them to be? Or
I think there's certainly instances where the classes which are being less changed are where they want them to be. I mean, I think a good example of that is instant cast heals. Like, we can see that, you know, for example, paladins are getting, I'm going through the patch notes again because I can't remember them. So priest level 90 heals are getting, Halo and Divine Star and the other one, Cascade, are being turned into 1.5 second cast time. A few priest spells are. Other than that, say Prayer of Mending, I think it's just those four. One of the Paladin heals, Eternal Flame, I think, is getting 1.5 second cast time.
Yep.
So is it Rejuve or is it Wild Growth?
Wild Growth.
Wild Growth. Is getting.
Yep.
But none of the reason I bring this example up is that none of the Shaman ones are. Like, none of the Shaman's one instant cast heals is getting a cast time. And like that's I feel like that's a good example where the absence of a change for Shaman is actually because as far as instant cast heals go, Shaman are actually where they want players to be. Like, that's where they want classes to be as far as instant cast healing goes. Look at smart healing, on the other hand, and then Shaman were all over the place and all kinds of wrong. But in that specific sort of section, I feel like that's what they're saying.
In this one tiny little piece right over here, this is all good. Everything else is total garbage.
Yes. Exactly. But I don't think that, like, we were talking about rogues a little bit with this earlier, and I don't think that you should assume that rogues are perfect and nothing else is going to change with rogues. And Pat, you mentioned paladins, and I don't think that paladins should feel like these are the final changes with paladins. There's definitely going to be more coming, but I do think that while we can't say that for classes as a whole, I do think that there are certain areas where you can look at them and say, like, changes to cast while moving spells. I doubt Shadow Priests are going to be seeing big changes to their cast while moving spells. You know, just saying.
Right.
And there's going to be a bunch of stuff along those lines where you're going to be able to say, look, yeah, Shadow Priests are where they want this like aspect of a class to be, so they're getting very few changes, and everyone else is being brought down to a Shadow Priest kind of level. Same applies to instant healing and Resto Shaman.
I think the biggest challenge for them is that they want to make all the secondaries be actually useful to all of these different classes. So, like, for warriors, you're right now, haste is total garbage for warriors. They won't take it. But coming up in Warlords, they actually want to make it a thing. So they actually want to make it into this. And I've digitized now.
Now you've digitized. So you've become 8-bit Pat.
8-bit Pat.
But they're trying to make it so that haste can actually be a thing for warriors. So they're going through and they're trying to make sure that everybody can have their secondary stats and be happy and work within the system so that no matter what they get as far as loot goes, that they'll be able to use it. So that's good too.
Absolutely. It's pretty cool. So I'm hoping that it's
Thank you.
That's You're retro welcome. Pat with the yellow glasses. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's going to be more to come. Like, these definitely are final, and you know, we haven't even got into the alpha yet. They haven't even started testing some of this stuff. And like looking at some of Celestalon's replies on Twitter, like talking about rogues, for example, there's some Fan of Knives ability where people are just going to be drowning in combo points, and like he's saying, look, we're just going to try this out and see how it goes. Like, you know, we can't promise that this is going to stay unchanged. So definitely take these as preliminary and not final. So I think it's good to remember that. That's me. I'm green.
You
I'm
are
just getting
green.
Prepared. We're having bad internet. We just had an earthquake.
I feel like it's your internet and not our internet.
I think it is, but I think we just had a tremor here in the Los Angeles area.
Oh, wow, really?
Oh, really?
Oh, hold on.
So.
You're going to see my whole thing.
Hold on! So now I'm backed up. So if the internet goes down, I got it.
Right.
You got it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. To wrap up on these changes for the patch notes, like I said, we can't go through all of them. We'd be here forever. But how are you guys feeling overall? I mean, are you feeling pretty good about the class changes that you're seeing?
Yeah, they seem to make sense anyway. I mean, you know, they're really trying to make sure that they kind of separate all the specs and try to figure out exactly what role you're playing so that you can play that role. And so, yeah, I think that most of the changes that I've seen, at least in this massive info dump, is pretty good. I'll break it down a little bit later with Celestalon, of course, but for right now, I'm pretty happy.
What about you, Olivia?
Yeah, Liv.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with them. My only remaining sort of nitpick is that I don't like the removal of the super low mana, low throughput, cast this when nothing else is happening spells. Like the removal of heal, holy light, healing wave. I don't play any of the other healers, so I don't know the equivalents for those. Apologies. Right. But I feel like that's my only minor peeve. However, other than that, I honestly, I couldn't be happier. I'm so excited for Warlords. And I feel like the only sort of criticisms I have for these will be fixed, and they'll be able to deal with that, and it won't be problematic, and I will just have forgotten I ever had that complaint by the time I start playing the game, because the rest of it just sounds incredibly awesome. I'm really, I really just want them to release it now, please. Just get on with it and release it, or just let me into the alpha. I want to play.
It's just alpha. We just
get me in.
We're not even
get
close.
Me in there.
I know, and it's just making me even sadder about the ongoing
Damn you, you damn
damn you.
Well, go read them in their entirety. Of course, you can go over to the World of Warcraft official site. They're also on Gamebreaker, and they're like everywhere else on the internet. But they're all up there, so go read them, check them out, and we expect to see more patch notes. All right, we still got a bunch of other stuff to talk about, though. But first, I want to take a minute to talk about our sponsor, Audible. If you guys have not checked out Audible, I want to hook you up with a free 30-day trial and a free audiobook just by using the URL audible.com/gamebreaker. That's the URL you're going to want to use. Head on over, you sign up, make an account. It's audiobooks on your iOS device, your Android device, your Kindle Fire, whatever you got. They got an app for it. And you get one free audiobook. It's a good time. You got a long time, apparently, with the alpha coming. You got a long time to catch up on your World of Warcraft lore. So you might as well pick up a World of Warcraft book. So Dawn of the Aspects is the most recent one to hit the Audible market. It's got great reviews, 4 out of 5 stars. Clocks in at like 14 hours by Richard Knack. Check it out. Let's take a little listen real quick.
To best the bronze aspect in the realm of time. When he first returned from the Time Ways, Tick continued hesitantly. He recounted what he saw. No matter where he and the others attempted to journey in history, they always emerged at the same point in the future. The hour of twilight. Nosdormu lowered his head and clenched his eyes shut. It was as he had feared. The strands of time had been gathered and pulled toward the apocalypse.
God, I wish I could just play more and more and more. I wish I could
That's so dramatic.
I know. I wish I had audiobook live stream, but we're not allowed to. But it'd be great if we could sit and play chapters and talk about it.
That would be pretty cool.
The chat room wants to know if we can get Audible patch notes. That'd be a great idea.
Patch notes. That'd be great.
Oh my god, can you imagine?
Might need them.
There are some interesting things over there. You go check it out. Check it out. Go over on today. I want to hook you guys up. Free 30-day trial and a free audiobook. Just go on over to audible.com/gamebreaker. Make sure you use that URL. And by supporting our sponsors, Audible, you help support Gamebreaker. So thanks so very much for everybody who has checked out Audible. And if you haven't, now is the time. Check them out. Audible.com. Love it. All right. So next up, apart from all the Warlords news, there's some updates on discussing challenge modes and how they're going to be dealt with in Warlords. So what's happening here is they are removing the current challenge modes with 6.Z.
6.Z.
Like
6.0.
6.0.
6.0.
That's 6.Z.
Z. 6.Z. Wait, what is the British term for zero again? No, it's
Nil. 6.0. 6-0. 6 love. If it's tennis. Yeah, we'll say naught or lot or naught, 0, null. Naught. That's the one you were thinking of. There we go.
I was thinking of naught. I don't know why I said Z.
I was confused too.
So, removing. They're going to remove the current challenge modes.
Yes.
6.Z.
We're a little punchy after all those damn patch notes, Liz.
Yeah, wow.
Thanks.
My God.
Can you add letters to make the patch notes even more complicated? Thanks, Liz. Try to work that out.
That'd be great.
So they're planning to basically remove access to all of the rewards and not make anything account wide, or not make anything account wide or transferable to other characters. Obviously, the internet freaked out.
Everyone was surprised that the internet freaked out.
Shocked.
Yeah,
that they wouldn't able to get these things done. So Blizzard have listened to the players and they've actually changed their mind. So
it's bravo.
True.
Bravo, thanks guys.
So what did they actually change?
So their initial standing was that, like, the current transmog is obviously no longer available with 6.0. If you wanted the transmog gear, the title, the mount, you needed to hurry up and get started on them and get them done. After the pre-patch launches, you won't be able to earn anything, and they're still stopping them at the end of the patch notes. But what they've done is they've come and said, actually, okay, we've changed our mind a bit on these rewards. We're being a little bit more lenient. So they were saying that none of them were account wide. They kind of had this position that challenge modes were the PvE equivalent of arenas, and so everything was character specific. So the Undaunted title that you get for bronze was going to be only if you got it on a priest, it was only on a priest, and you couldn't then have that across all your characters. They've gone back on that, so they've made the Undaunted title for all the bronze 9 of 9 account wide. The Pandaren Phoenix mounts, which you get for silvers, they did exactly the same on this. They said, all right, these are going to be for one character and one character only. You can only get one egg per character, so then you can only get one mount. You need to do them again on another character if you want all 4 mounts. And now they're actually saying, okay, if any character on a given account has earned a full set of silver medals, all 4 variants of the Phoenix are available to all of the characters on that account. So it's a bit of a shift from one mount per character, not account wide, to go nuts, all the eggs all the time, all the phoenixes. Right. And then the only thing they've not gone back on is the gold cosmetic sets. They will remain character specific, but anyone who's earned all 9 gold medals will be able to repurchase the set. So say you lose a piece, you accidentally disenchant it or delete it or something, you're still able to go back and get that in the Veil. And if you've got the spells as well, so you get the Challenger's Path, takes you to basically the dungeon entrance, really handy for moving around the world. You'll still have those available. So yeah, it's kind of a pretty substantial shift. It's kind of surprising to me actually that they went back on it to quite this extent.
Well, I think they did it because nobody really understood what challenge modes were at the beginning. I mean, it was kind of like a cool way to get transmog gear, right? So I mean, everybody's like, okay, that's cool. And we can kind of do the time thing and get these different medals and it seemed like a cool way to get stuff. But then all of a sudden it seemed like there was more emphasis on the timeliness of it. But this is only like a month or 2 ago where they said, oh yeah, so we're going to be shutting this down. What, you're going to be shutting it down? Wait, what?
That's fair. That's a fair.
So why are you doing that? This was like some casual thing that we were doing, just having fun, and now you want to shut it down and you want to call it a season? What is going on? I don't know. So yeah, of course they're gonna go, oh, we didn't tell you what was going on, so you're kind of upset about it? Okay. Well, then you can just have all the things. Maybe. Okay, I get it. So, maybe. I think that was it.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair. I suppose, yeah, because they hadn't mentioned at all. I feel like the ending was there because they went, wait, these are going to be really, really, we spoke about this before, Pat, these are going to be really, really hard to scale once we've done the whole item squish, ability squish thing. Right. So, yeah, okay, maybe from that perspective.
Right, yeah, and especially with that. I mean, I get it. Nobody wants to redo an entire challenge mode dungeon because everything has changed, and now you got to take all that stuff into consideration. The world is changing. I get not redoing that stuff for 6.0, so you got to cut it off at some point. But I think now that everybody understands the mentality of the developers as saying that these are going to be seasons, that's going to put more emphasis on it come Warlords. So see a little bit more emphasis on it.
So you guys like the changes? I mean, it sounded.
It is what it is, man.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
For challenge modes, it is what it is.
I don't know.
Challenge modes are always kind of secondary.
Yeah, challenge modes are kind of a sort of very a side thing in the game. Personally, as someone who
weren't they compared to arenas before?
Yeah, this is that's exactly it. That's exactly kind of knocks on the head where my kind of peeve with this comes in. They compared these to arenas, and arenas happen in a season as well.
Right.
And those rewards are And like the way Ian explained it, although I completely understand where Pat's coming from, that was really, really sprung on people, and that's uncool. Like if they'd said from the start, and maybe they'll do this next expansion with the challenge modes, but they said that these were like basically like arenas where, you know, it rewards doing well on a given character. And like if you are a really, really good holy priest in challenge mode, with disc priest in challenge modes, then you're not necessarily a really awesome resto shaman. And like the challenge mode rewards were designed to say, look, okay, this person, look how this person has all this stuff. They've got this transmog set, and like it was compared, and I think logically, to arenas where if you see someone with a Glad title, you know they're really good, and you know they're really good on that class. And like that was a logical comparison to me. So I don't know. I can completely understand for this season why they've gone back on it, because they should have warned people. I mean, okay, I'm about to laugh at myself. They're saying they should have warned people a bit far in advance. They only warned them in February, man, and they only had till October to do this stuff. Uncool, exactly. Blizzard. Uncool. Exactly. They only give them 8 months to do this content.
Right.
And so I don't know. I can see. I understood the original argument, but I can see what they've gone back on it.
What's gonna happen to Realm First titles?
Realm First has been a bit of a saga, actually. Have you been keeping up with it, Pat?
You know, I really have not. This is one area where I'm just kind of like, you guys do your thing over there with the challenge modes and
when you make up your mind,
stuff and
get back to
so
me.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So basically, they came in and said Realm Best titles. So how this works is on your realm, when you are at the top of the rankings, you then have this Realm Best title temporarily. And so they basically the initial thing that they said was, all right, these are going because the challenge modes are going and it's too hard. And then they came back and Ian Hazakostas went onto the official forums and explained the thinking behind that, because obviously people were like, wait, what? These titles are incredibly hard to get. You're just taking them away from us? Like, what the hell, Blizzard? Uncool. So he tried to explain it by sort of saying, okay, so we thought it would be fun, a little bit of competition. We never decided that they would be like, we're going to give you a feat of strength, we're going to give you a feat of strength, not going to give a title, we're going to give you a feat of strength, because that's the same. And, and then, no. And they were like, so talking about then obviously problems with balance, like certain classes have an easier time getting Realm First than other classes, which is also true. Again, the arena comparison is relevant here, cough, balance, cough. And they also had like the idea of giving all players who have the feat of strength for ever holding a best time a title, and then it's like, that sets a precedent for the next season, and then how does it work, yada yada yada. And then about 3 hours later he came back and said, all right, what we've decided to do is we are going to take away the dungeon specific titles, but we're going to do what I said wouldn't work. So we're going to add a new title, Mistwalker, which will be rewarded in patch 6.0 to any character who earned one of the Challenge Master feats of strength during the Mist of Pandaria Challenge Mode season. However, that title is not account-wide. So it's sort of like...
I really like how Ian Hazakostas, how he does this all the time, or I've seen it maybe a lot recently, where he says one thing, and then a little while later he comes back and he does the thing that he says that he wouldn't do. Right, so he did the same thing with making sure that all of the rating was cross realm, and he said, well, we can't just make normals cross realm right now because we can't unlink heroics. And then it was like a week or two later, he goes, you know what? Screw it. Here, have normals, have heroics. I don't care anymore. Just take it.
You know what? You know what? Just take it. Just I don't even care.
Just have at it, kids. Just have at
it. I don't even care. I don't even care. I know, like Bashiog's sitting in chat, stop listening to feedback in, and I'm taking the mickey because I just found it funny, but it is pretty cool how he does listen, and it's like good indication of how Blizzard does do that, and we appreciate it, Blizzard, that you do listen to us eventually.
Yes, eventually.
Only on Thursdays.
Yeah,
Olivia D. Grace. Follow her on Twitter at Olivia D. Grace, and of course go over to WoW Insider, Zam, and right here on the Legendary. Always a pleasure. Look at your set. It's all dressed up. I love it.
I know. I'm evolving.
Yeah, last time you were in your dojo.
Next time, more fingers.
Yes, less desks.
Oh, Pat look, Crane. I'm frozen. It's such a pretty pose.
Follow him on Twitter at Pat Crane. Make sure to go over to converttoraid.com and check out the Convert to Raid show live every Sunday morning at 9 Pacific.
Especially this Sunday. Yeah, Celestalon Zarm or Zarheim on the show this Sunday. So check it out, please.
Make sure you check it out. Big week. You can watch the show live every Thursday night at 8 PST. We do it live, as well as Game Breaker right after is another show. Game Breaker's a show. You know, it's very confusing. We do that show right after with me and Pat Crane. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week for some more Legendary.